To set the scene, I was the manager of an outdoor pool years ago that resembled a small water park, and this pool was in the valley of the upper class region in Colorado Springs. The pool had several water slides with weight and height requirements, a decently long and winding lazy river, one of those mushrooms that pour water all along the edge, and a structure in the zero entry portion of the pool that was meant for smaller children that wore red wristbands. A red wristband meant that a child was either under the age of 5 or unable to pass a swim test, both of which meant that a parent or guardian had to be within arm's reach of the kid wearing the red wristband at all times, which is pertinent to the story. It was the beginning of the season, and a solid 1/3 of my lifeguards were 16 or 17 years old, working their first jobs that had also just graduated a lifeguard course I'd co-taught. This detail is important. It'll be good to remember later that many of my guards were extremely green and had never made an actual rescue before. They were well-trained and competent. It was a Saturday morning. Most patrons were pass holders and could come and go as they pleased. The problem family of the morning held no such pass and had to pay at the door for 2 children and 1 adult. Problem dad tried to send his kids through to the locker rooms without paying for them, which wasn't a great start to his day. He said he didn't realize kids weren't free, and the front desk girl let him in. Both children ended up wearing red wristbands. Problem dad threw a mini fit when the girl at the front desk told him he'd have to be within arm's reach of his small kids at all times, but conceded and entered the pool area. Problem dad was on my radar within an hour for attempting to allow both of his kids to go down a slide reserved for green wristbands. He also walked away from his kids several times to be whistled at by a guard and shooed back to his kids that were always in the water. He was given a final warning by one of my head guards and told he'd have to leave if he broke a rule again. Next thing I know, I hear the long whistles that indicate a guard is jumping into the water to make a rescue. I see the other guards shift stations like they're supposed to, and a head guard to go get the automated external defibrillator, first aid kit, and my attention to call 911. They're working like a well-oiled machine. I speed walk to the point of the rescue, just in time to see one of my brand new guards pulling a 5-year-old boy out of the lazy river. He's alone. I immediately recognize that he belongs to the problem dad and look around for him. No sooner than I spot him do I realize that he is pissed. The guard that pulled the kid out of the lazy river has lied him down on the concrete, and he's coughing up water, but he is fine. The head guard tries to help him up, but the dad rips him out of the guard's hands and starts screaming at and downright berating my 17-year-old guard that made the rescue. "He can swim just fine. What are you doing? You scared him shitless. Are you stupid?" I have absolutely zero tolerance for bullying, let alone for a grown-ass man screaming at a kid for doing their job. So I immediately step in and tell him to calm down. He turns his attention towards me, gives me a quick head-to-toe once-over, and demands the manager. I didn't wear makeup to this job, am fair-skinned with red hair and freckles, and was wearing a guard suit with guard shorts instead of manager clothes, because I had been filling in for a head guard during their lunch. I looked about 20 and still do now, at 32. Nevertheless, I was in charge. "I am the manager, sir." "Ha, the real manager. Someone that can legally buy a beer. Where is he?" "I am the only manager. I am 26 years old, and I am in charge of everything here." He went on to claim he'd been mere feet from his son and was about to help him, since he was struggling, when the girl over there jumped in and caused a scene, scaring him. I'd not seen the rescue from the start, so I asked the head guard what happened, though I already knew. He told me the boy was fully submerged in the current of the lazy river, and if the guard hadn't jumped in, he'd have likely been getting CPR as we spoke. I looked back at the problem dad and said he owed my guard an apology and a thank you. He snorted and told me that wasn't going to happen, so I told him he was no longer welcome in my pool. He threw a big fit, this time demanding a refund and threatening to get me fired and calling us all names, and I refused the refund, and walked right on his heels until he was through the facility and out the front door, where he continued to yell, and I called the cops. They came fast, as this wasn't a terribly uncommon occurrence at our affluent pool. He was trespassed, and he ruined any chance of summer pool fun for his kids that year. I told the cops to talk to him about dry drowning and to insist his kid see a doctor, and wiped my hands off the situation. When I made it back inside, the girl who'd made the rescue was having a full-blown panic attack in the guard room. She was sobbing, saying she had no clue how she saved him, that the man was right and she was an idiot, and more. I confronted her and told her that her training kicked in, and she did everything she was supposed to do, potentially saving the kid's life. I gave her the rest of the day off. I bought her some nachos and a soda. The next weekend, we did an in-service based on the Lazy River rescues, and my green little guard was awarded Lifeguard of the Month, which she and her mom bragged about all summer. Problem Dad called to complain about me to the manager, who'd read my incident report and was promptly told he should be glad that his kid didn't die. The wristband protocol, that lifeguards have final say in safety measures at all times, and that the little girl manager had final say in trespassing him. The end. Second story. So understand, prior I got kicked out at 15 years old and was renting the top floor of my grandparents. Started when I was 17, since I had a job and they both lived on Social Security. I joined the military when I was 17 and went on active duty when I was 18. I got discharged from active duty when I was 18 because I was pregnant. Needless to say, I was more than estranged before this, and my parents didn't even check up on me for 3 straight years prior to this. They found out that I was pregnant and were more than over-involved. They even got my grandparents to kick me out so I would have to depend on them, and on multiple occasions had mentioned adoption was an option if I couldn't handle it. Well, the first time they tried to steal my child was shortly after I had him. Since I was backed into a corner to move back in, I was working my every waking moment to save up to move back out. As I was out of work for 3 months, so my savings were depleted, as I was paying $1,500 per month for them to watch my child and to live there. I was only there for 4 months. Found out later their mortgage was only $750, and they owned 2 businesses at this time. They refused to give me keys and would lock me out if I worked past 11 p.m., even going as far as to ignore their 3 dogs barking when I attempted to get them to let me in. I drove, so I always had a dry place to sleep, but they wouldn't unlock the door until my sister went to school at 15 past 8 a.m., so I always requested to avoid late shifts. Well, unfortunately, as the only other manager, when the assistant manager went on vacation, she usually does night shifts, I had to cover closing. They locked me out all week, refusing to give me a key, and on the last night, they called the police, reporting that I had abandoned my child and was trespassing on their property because they had custody. I was pissed. I showed them the proof I paid them, as luckily I had gotten checks because my parents were old-fashioned and paid them in checks. I also showed them the text messages and proof I lived there. When I attempted to press charges, the cop told me they were going to give them a warning because my dad works with our township police department as an independent contractor, and I should just move out. When they were asked why they did it, their answer was I was trying to take their baby. My son, which was proven by the birth certificate. Needless to say, I refused to pay them that month and moved out at the end of it. I also haven't trusted any of the police in my area ever since. I honestly wish that were the end of it. But unfortunately, I was still dependent on them, as I was a 19-year-old single mother at this time with no support system, because I should just work things out with my parents. What has your support system been like since then? Did you end up having any more children? I have not had any more children. I got with my husband right before my child turned 3. He is now 8, turning 9. And we ended up moving in with each other, so I didn't need a sitter as often, and on the rare opportunity I do, my sister come to my place usually. It didn't stop them from doing stupid stuff. But to be fair, I chose to keep in contact, so that my children can determine his own opinion himself when he gets older, since they had already bonded with him, as my mother had forced me out of my biological father's family's life. And by the time I was already old enough to meet them on my own, I already had issues connecting with them due to false information my mother had fed me. I realized I'm not my mother, and my son already sees the issues in how my parents treat me, and has called them out for talking crap on me behind my back to my husband, as my husband is an introvert and will just smile and agree if he's uncomfortable. He's a good boy, but he still loves them very much. Luckily, they stopped trying after he was 5. because I took them to court. They did give me quite a few stories though. Last story. So I have to start off with a backstory. My parents run 3 businesses through their basement office. They barely get by with the businesses, so they used to charge me to watch my kid, under the age of 10, or dog, and then leave them with my sister, who hates my dog and lives with them. They started doing this when my sister was still in high school. She is eligible for disability due to mental issues and is essentially super easy to take advantage of, as they have for years. I was a single mother at the time, so I couldn't really not leave to go to work at the time. So instead, I started giving her the money directly, as she was the one doing the work. And she didn't have a job yet and was looking for one. It wasn't a lot, but it was like $30 to $40 per day. And I worked 6 days a week at the time. Well, my parents responded was to start having her pay one of the bills, specifically electricity, and she is 15, almost 16 at this time. They also kicked me out at 15, and I haven't lived with them since. So keep this in mind in the type of people they are. Well, fast forward a bit, from 3 to 8 years old, she only watched my kid for date night. So I got my sister a job where I worked, as I had gotten married and she still pays bills. Yes, now plural. In my parents' house, but she's now 24 years old. I own a 6-year-old black Labrador Newfoundland, 90-pound dog expected to die between the ages of 8 and 12. He will be 7 this year, so he's a very large senior. He has separation anxiety, very badly, as I've always worked opposite schedules from my husband, and even though originally he was crate trained. We went on vacation one year and transported him to the kennel in a crate, and ever since then he freaks when he's put in a crate. He chews his body to the point he loses all the hair on his butt, legs, and belly. He has also chewed through 3 plastic crates, 1 wooden crate, 2 metal crates, 1 wall, 1 door, 1 window, yes, a glass window, and 6 screens. He'll destroy whatever is in his reach. Trainers say he needs an emotional support dog for himself. He did calm down a little after I got 3 cats for him to hang with, but will still attempt to escape if he's longer than 15 minutes. Well, both my husband and myself had to work, as it was a rare occasion, where I worked during the day as I needed extra hours since someone hit my car. I asked them if they could watch my child and my dog. My sister worked night shift as well and worked into that morning. They know my dog's issues and he's had them for 3 years now, and it has costed me a lot of money. They decided they wanted to go out, knowing these issues, for 6 hours. Not just shopping, but to lunch and everything else. My dog is a good boy, so he will go into a crate fine. Still, he just freaks out after a bit, and 6 hours is more than a bit. He destroyed the bed in the cage and a litter pan that was outside of the cage. The cage they placed him in was a TIG weld cage, bought for their business, all metal except for the barred opening, so he couldn't escape. Now, my parents are both humane officers in their own business, and they get donations for animals through it. The bed and the litter pan were both donations. The bed itself was a cloth one that was for an animal of max weight of 50 pounds, as I'm the one who logs their inventory and all of their paperwork. They demanded not only that I owed them for watching the child and dog, $60, I get paid $120 before taxes per shift, but for me to reimburse them for the bed and the litter pan, giving me a price that was more than 2 times what they were worth. Though they were donations and they did this to my dog, even though they knew the reasons why he had to be watched and why I was paying them. They don't even pay me for all the work I do for their business, but they expect me to pay for their donations. On top of that, they started showing up to my house unwelcomed, randomly in the morning. I usually get off work at 9 a.m. and work a minimum of 68 hours per week. Because of this situation, dropping off bills for damages. They even tried getting me to pay for the pest control guy for their yard, saying because supposedly my dog dug up their yard and now they have grub issues. They have 2 dogs of their own and my dog doesn't dig because he chews his paws and they are always chapped because of this. It hurts him when he digs, so why would he do it? On top of that, their one dog, whom is 2 years old, is a notorious digger, so why blame my dog? Am I crazy? I can't cut them off because my kid loves them. And if I pay them more money, they will just keep coming back for more. I will be moving in a few months anyways though. So should I just pay them and allow the 3-hour distance to be my buffer? Or should I just continue ignoring them? Am I the crazy one? You hired them for a specific service. They did not fulfill that service according to your agreement. You might have to pay for the beforehand agreed upon dog sitting, but not the destruction, since that is a direct consequence of them neglecting to uphold their end of the bargain. If there is any problem with them after this reasoning, then perhaps it is time to completely stop doing any free work for them. Going forward, you will only do work for them in their business if you get paid. Remember, contracts. Not like you don't have better to do with your time anyway.